All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Kerrigan. I work for Writable as the District and Customer Engagement team, and we also have Becky Mack with us. She works as the Director of Customer Success. So Becky, I'll let you say hello quickly.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks, everyone. Good to be here.
We are excited to have you all here today. We are going to be making this as a recording, so we are live on our recording right now. We have made a resource guide for you, which is this deck, so that you have all the resources after you leave. So this is the address for that. We would love for you to ask any questions that you have in chat. I believe Becky is putting that bit.ly up into the chat right now. So with no further moments of important details, we're going to go ahead and get started on our content. So it's off to you, Becky.
Great, thanks. So joining today for a conversation and really some details around how can you continue to help your students grow as writers when potentially you might be in a different teaching scenario than you have been in the past. So the Writable Loop that we base our whole program around consists of, assessment, practice, feedback, this writable loop that you might naturally do with no problem when you're face-to-face with your instruction. But we know that times have changed due to COVID. So with the next slide, you see kind of a model of, well, what are the different ways that you may be teaching and your students may be expected to learn right now? Maybe you are fully back in person. Maybe you're doing a hybrid approach. So you're doing some days or some groups in person and some still remotely, or perhaps you could still all be virtual. So these scenarios that you find yourself in today might be different in a month, and you can go in and out of these different teaching and learning scenarios. So what we want to provide you with today is just really some key areas of Writable that can help you keep your students engaged in the writing process and really grow as writers, especially when you might be in a position where maybe your instructional minutes that you used to spend with writing have been reduced. So just wanting to make Writable easy for you to use as a teacher, great for students to stay engaged, and most importantly, helping them grow to become better writers. So what you see here, and this actually is an image. You can click on it in the deck. The links are also below. But the key areas that we really feel that Writable stands out relative to best practices for when you are teaching remotely, and of course these still hold true if you're face-to-face, would be the real-world applications, the prompt feedback that you can offer students relative to their writing, and also the peer review process that students can engage in for feedback. And then again, quality assignments that we have that really help keep students engaged, have that interaction between students, again, with that peer review. But also we have some video audio components that we've added throughout Writable that we're going to talk through today that also help with that engagement piece.
So as we kick off thinking about writable assignments, of course, all of you on the mini course today are probably aware that you can create all of your own assignments. However, Writable has a group of content specialists, experts in their field, who are able to create a number of assignments that you can use just as turnkey solutions or with just some small tweaks of your own. A couple that we are going to be talking about today, we'll actually pull those out as we talk about some ideas for your virtual learning. A new one that was released here just even since Christmas was the YouTube biographies. It's a very popular one, and you can just take a look and scan through these and see that we've got quite a few collections for you to use. It's also really important to note that during this period of learning where we have we're going with all these different models, as Becky had mentioned, that Writable does integrate with all of these platforms, Schoology, Canvas, and Google Classroom. So most of our users are finding that using one of these three systems with Writable has made it very seamless for students to go between Writable and then the other instruction that you're providing in the classroom. So we wanted to just pull that out. And then the last thing that's important for you to know about Writable is that we're very passionate about making sure that you can have support just when you need it. So you'll notice in this picture, we created what's called a Learn With Us course. So in the corner of Writable, when you're in there, there's that question mark. So that's something that we've added in the last 6 to 8 months, so that when you click on it, you actually have all of the support materials for Writable there. And at the very bottom, it has the Chat With Us button. And we have that chat with us. We have individuals, people behind the scenes who are willing to help you get unstuck right away. And so it's one of those areas that when you're working with students or you're designing an assignment, or anytime that you just feel like you're just not certain how to maneuver through Writable, the chat with us is there for you, mostly through the 7 to 7 Eastern time. So that covers most of the teaching schedules for everybody in the United States. Okay, so what we want to do now is Becky is going to kind of talk through some of the pieces that are put together in order for you to do modeling and using Writable in these different learning environments. And so Becky is going to do, we're going to have like a conversation about these tools as we go through some of these items. So back to you, Becky.
Thanks. So as Kara said, this feature allows you to masquerade as a student. And if you notice down in the bottom, most of the slides in this slide deck also have a banner with a link, which takes you to the directions of how you can use these features. So just wanted to call that out to your attention. So this Assign to Me and Masquerade as a Student, well, why is this important? This is important to know and use because it really allows you to set your students up for success. You can, one, use this to teach your students how to navigate Writable. So if this is if they're new to the program, what you would do is once you have your assignment ready to go, you would open up the Assign area. You would select Assign with Me. And that means that you are assigning it to yourself to be a student. And then when you're ready to go through that student experience, you would click on a student icon in the Assign to Me class. And then again, that launches you into a student view where you would see the dashboard and be able to go into the assignment, and you can teach the students, model for them, well, this assignment has a reading with it. This is how you can highlight and annotate. You can show them how they can view their rubric, how they can respond, all of the different features that you want them to use that you feel are important. You can use this feature to go ahead and, again, set them up for success so they're understanding how to navigate and they feel comfortable. The other way you can use this is, again, if you're doing maybe remote learning, you can also use it, as the model. So maybe you're the one driving and you're just using one assignment as the model student to kind of talk through, complete something together, just for that, that practice where you're getting their input so they can see, and then you have the gradual release of responsibility where eventually, they're getting assigned their own assignments and doing them. So, a few different ways you can use this feature depending on how it works for you, but really encourage you to use this if you haven't, to test out your assignments, make sure they look good, they are understandable, and again, really set your students up on the right path in teaching them how to use Writable. So Kara, anything you want to add to this, or any questions that may have come in on the Assign to Me?
Okay, well, I do want to add that this is an efficiency tool that we built in order for teachers. Many teachers were creating a student account and then having to log out and log in as students, trying to create a separate email address, etc. So by this feature as masquerading as a student, we really saw a lot of teachers needing the ability to share this in Zoom, Google Classroom, on a Google Meet, etc. So it's been a real powerful tool, and we don't have any questions in chat on that. So like to move on to the next one here.
Great. Okay. So this again, we don't have usually out of the gate. We don't necessarily have a lot of people that jump straight to create an assignment. But if you did have something that you wanted to create that was your own writing prompt or activity, you easily can just click on that plus icon, create assignment. And we have a great tutorial that walks you through all the steps very easy. So again, this would be when you have your own content and you want to start from scratch, you would go ahead and use this feature. And then later on, you'll see some additional components to your assignment that you can add if you were creating your own that might be really engaging to help your students. And we'll take a peek at those here in a little bit. Kara, anything to add?
The only thing that I have to add on this one is that we have a lot of successful ways that you can edit these assignments. So we always recommend, for efficiency's sake, that you start with something maybe that you think is close, and then you can always tweak it. And then once you start to really get using Writable on the platform, creating your own is a great way to customize something that maybe you've been doing in a different format. Turning it virtually so that students can write anywhere, anytime. And then that way, as we move forward into that, you can actually share that with your other peers in something that you've made. And Becky and I have made a number of assignments that we've been able to share between each other. So it's a
Right.
great feature.
Yeah, so if you think back to that first slide or one of those first slides with all the different assignment types, what you notice here on the left-hand side under collections, you see some of those different assignment types that you could filter and find, and they populate there on the right for you to preview. And as Kara mentioned, if you weren't creating your own assignment from scratch, but you were using one of our, ready-made assignments, you could make those easy tweaks to it.
Mhm. Okay, the next one is embedding a video and mini lesson to engage, reinforce, and remind. And so this has been a real popular feature, Becky, that our teachers have been using. And I'll let you go ahead and discuss this in more detail.
Yeah, so this is a feature that we actually added last spring when there was an increase in online remote teaching. And the reason that this is so great is that you actually can record a video or audio instruction for whatever fits your needs. Maybe it's just a simple greeting connection message with your students that you want to embed in the lesson. Maybe it's a mini lesson. However, you need that functionality to work for you, you can do that. And the great thing about it is you can record your video or audio right from Writable, or if you prefer a longer mini lesson, let's say you have a 15-minute mini lesson, you can actually use something like Screencastify and you can upload that. When you record right in Writable, it's super easy to do, but there is a 5-minute limitation on it. So anything longer than 5 minutes, we recommend you record elsewhere and upload it. But again, this is great because, it might lend itself well to if you're, kind of flipping your instruction around. Maybe you want your students to watch the mini lesson and then come to class, whether that's face-to-face or, meeting online with having watched, some instruction, and then you answer questions about that and dig into the lesson. A variety of ways I'm sure you can use this, but the beautiful thing about it is, again, how it's embedded right in the lesson. So students aren't needing to go to, another area to find the recording to watch. It's just all right there and makes it really easy for students to have it all right in front of them.
And Becky, another piece that I really love about the simplicity of this is that we're all on a Zoom call right now, and all of us do probably could turn on our cameras, in different Zoom situations. And so there's no additional equipment needed in order for this to happen. You can actually just record, just basically sitting at your computer, pushing the play button, the record button, and then it automatically goes into the lesson. And so many students are really enjoying getting a chance to see their teachers talk a little bit more about the lesson right here while they're at home or wherever they're at in their instruction.
All right. And then all of our assignments, you have the ability, if you were creating your own assignment from scratch or editing an assignment, perhaps maybe you didn't pick one that had a graphic organizer, but if you did have the need to scaffold for your students, you can add graphic organizers to your lesson. And then you can even go a little bit deeper and do some additional, differentiating of the prompt on your own for students. And we have some great directions for that. But we also have really fabulous ready-made assignments that are differentiated that we're going to show here next. But what I want to remind you with the graphic organizers is that we have a wide variety in our template bank that you can choose from. So we recommend that you look at what we have first, and then if for some reason it's not what you need and you have a very specific graphic organizer, there are directions to show you how you can add your own, but you would need to be connected with Google and have that graphic organizer in a Google Doc to upload your own. So if you're a Microsoft user, the ability to add your own graphic organizer might not work. However, just reinforcing that we have a long list of graphic organizers, and if you really like one of them and it's not quite what you need, just reach out to one of us and we can see about if there's a possibility we can adjust that if you are a Microsoft user.
All right, thank you, Becky. And this is part 2 of the differentiated prompts.
Yeah, so again, why did we do this? Well, we know that you don't have a classroom full of students that are at the same learning level, and that may be even more crucial now to really look and see what your students need and provide assignments for them based on their level. So we have this prompt differentiation, and you can take one assignment and you can make that assignment into up to 5 different assignment types. So if you think back to the scaffolding where maybe you start with no supports, but then each level you're adding additional scaffolds, additional supports for the students. So maybe the highest level here, it looks like there's 3 levels of assignment. So you would have light, medium, heavy scaffolding. And again, you can adjust and edit your own. However, we do have ready to go differentiated assignments at elementary and middle school as well. In high school, we're working on, so those will be upcoming and released. But here in that link below is an example of an elementary differentiated assignment. So again, it has those different scaffoldings built in. So level 1 would be light, level 2, medium supports, and level 3, that's, really heavy supports for the student. And although this is one assignment, it's very easy to assign. So when we look at the next slide, you can see how you get those different prompt assignments ready. And then when you want to push those out to the students, you would go to assign, and then here, where you see your roster, you can indicate which student should receive which level of that assignment. And when you hover over those small eyes, it reminds you which which assignment that is, and what the level of support is in case that you've forgotten. And what is really nice about this is on the student side, they're only seeing the assignment, the level that you gave them. They're not having to say, oh, Miss Scan told me I was a level 3, so I have to find that assignment. To them, it's one assignment, and they wouldn't know that their other peers had something different from them.
And Becky, to add on this also is that it does work with all of with Google Canvas and Classroom. So the students, when they click inside either any of those 3, they will actually see the assignment that you have assigned. So it's a real powerful tool so that you can do some customization and some personalization with students and still have the same type of learning happening.
Right. And the assignments, those differentiated ones, come from Time for Kids. So they also have different Lexile levels for the reading articles that are included in them. And then also, if needed, a Spanish version.
I jumped the gun on this slide. You were still talking about differentiation.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll let you take the lead on this slide.
This is one of our newest ones that have just released. I mentioned it on an earlier slide. We're really excited about these. This is a number of YouTube videos with biographies. And so the way that these lessons look is that the student, rather than reading a passage, actually would click on a play button, and it would show something about, say, Benjamin Franklin or Abraham Lincoln. And then there is a prompt that the students can read, and then they can write to what they watched. And this has been a real powerful activity for students to start them writing. And we're actually seeing that even though they're classified in the collections as an elementary activity, we're seeing a lot of middle school and high school teachers who are really enjoying the content and able to just adjust the prompt and provide a little bit more detail about what they're expecting in writing. So although it is in the collection as an elementary activity, it moves all the way out. And I know that our team is actively working on putting more together. And so we will be seeing more come to the platform soon. And another item that it also has spurred with some of our teachers is that they're actually creating their own lessons using their own videos that they have found outside of what we do with the lesson that you put in there, but you actually can find a video of something that you're interested in or that you're working on, and they're doing the same type of a lesson. We do have a question, Becky, that just came up, so let me go ahead and read that. Can recorded Google Meet links be uploaded for an instructional video?
Yeah, we can show that at the end if there's time. I also did respond to that.
Okay, thank you.
To let them know. So we can get to that at the end. But another question came in. Did the differentiation levels are only available with the Time for Kids collection? So yes and no. Yes, for ready-made differentiated assignments, yes. Right now, only with the Time for Kids collection would you find ready to go differentiated assignments that already have the different scaffolding levels established and done. Now, if you wanted to create your own, which we talked a little bit about and touched on, there is a differentiated prompt feature when you're creating assignments or editing them, where you could take one of your own assignments or even one of our assignments that's not differentiated, and you can edit with that prompt differentiation feature, and you can go ahead and make your own differentiated assignment. The level of scaffolding and the things you can do are a little bit different than what you see in the Time for Kids already established differentiated lessons, but you can still do some great things on your own. It is more of a power user feature. So really recommend that you check out the, creating lessons with the differentiated prompt feature and follow those steps if you're newer to Writable.
Okay.
Great, thanks. So the next thing that we wanted to just share with you is if you have, some need to also cover, other content areas besides ELA. We even have some of our customers even use Writable with math. And that's really fascinating to see that. But it does lend itself really nicely also to science and social studies. So this was just a reminder that, not only can you use Writable for your literacy needs, but also other content areas.
This feature here, we put in because we wanted to be able, people have been asking for the ability to print passages. Not everyone has access to a device all the time. And so in all of the passages now, you will actually see a printer button. And that printer button allows you to actually make a hard copy for accommodations, for lack of a device access. And then when you are creating your own lesson, you actually have the ability to allow printing to be turned on or turned off. So that's another feature that was added, was that ability to get a paper copy. Anything on that one, Becky, you want to add?
Yep, that's great.
All right, this is a great one.
So our live feedback. So what this does is, imagine if you are in the classroom and you are having your students work on something relative to writing. Usually you might circulate the classroom, you might look over their shoulder, stand next to them, bend down, ask to take a look at their work, give them a little bit of feedback on the spot, on demand. Well, that's not something that's really possible if you are doing teaching remotely. So this is where live feedback comes in. We have the ability as the teacher to see when students are writing live in Writable, and then you can pull up their writing, take a look at it, and offer them some feedback right there on the spot. Send them a message. They get notified very easily. They can look at that feedback and incorporate that into their writing while they're working on it. So again, this is very similar to being in the classroom, right next to a student. So that's the power of this feature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then also, again, we did add video and audio feedback. So not only do we have some great ways to give students feedback with the rubrics and how those work, but also this video and audio functionality really allows for you to connect with students. Maybe they're EL students, so reading comments isn't necessarily helpful to them, or maybe it just helps for them to hear and see the feedback versus just reading it in the rubric. And again, even more important, to have that kind of connection with the teacher if you are, in a remote environment. So this is very popular. We've gotten some great feedback on this, and it's very easy to use. Again, you can record right from Writable, or again, you can upload.
And to add on this one, Becky, it's been interesting to hear the feedback that you mentioned. A lot of the teachers are saying that the students seem to be more focused on the revision process when they're actually seeing the teacher give them not only the written feedback, but also just a couple of words of encouragement or comments along the way. And as you go through, and every revision process that the teacher gives, they can make a different video. So you can actually have, every time that you are giving them feedback on their writing, they actually can get another video from you. Now, if you're doing peer feedback and that type of feedback, and the self-review, there is no video option. So I think it's important to note that this is a feature that is specifically for teachers in feedback when they're giving feedback.
Yeah, so I want to pause here and just explain the feedback options that are available. And then what you'll find on the additional slides that follow these feedback options are, again, a screenshot of oh, but can you stay there though? I don't, yeah, thanks. I just wanted to explain that the slide deck does include a screenshot of each one of these. So you can see what that looks like. You can see the directions that align to it. So you can understand how you would better incorporate that into your daily teaching practice. But feedback, that's one of the main drivers, really important component of Writable. So we strongly recommend that once your students are, comfortable with Writable, you can certainly start assigning those peer reviews, those self-reviews. Teacher grading is always available, and we just saw on that add audio video feedback slide a screenshot of that rubric, and again the ability to add the video and audio there. But then we do have some capabilities to use that on-demand revision aid feedback. So again, that gives students that instant input while they are working on something. It's not a replacement for teacher grading, but it does support and aid a student with getting them some feedback in a quick fashion. And then lastly, if you use our plagiarism checker, that is also a great feedback tool that you can use with students. So again, all of the following slides show these different features and functionality. We're not going to go into each one and talk through them, but what we did want to do is just ask which features, whether it's feedback or some of the other items that we went through earlier, that you might want to see actually live in the app. So we wanted to first kind of touch upon, well, these are some great things that you can include when you're using Writable to help keep students, engaged and help make your job easier. But then we wanted to also give you some time to then say, hey, could you show us that live feedback? Can you show us what that looks like in the app? So this is actually your time to ask any questions or request anything you might want to see live in Writable.
And we're just about at the 30-minute mark, Becky. So those people that need to jump off, feel free to do so at the time. You will receive the email. You have the link to the deck. We have this recorded. It will be posted. It looks like Melanie would like to see a little bit about revision aid, is something that she would like to see. I do think we have all the questions answered. We had some questions come in through Q&A, which I didn't see, and I think, Becky, you were able to handle, and then a couple that they repeated it into the chat. So,
Yeah, so can you go to the revision aid slide?
Sure. Let's see. Let me just slide through, not make anybody sick.
So I think the revision aid slide is actually set up really nicely, where there's a video there that you can watch and kind of see how that works. But then also, if you click on the Let's Explore It link, Kara, as long as you're logged out of Writable, it should bring you. Yep. So what Kara's going to do is she's in as a student right now. So go ahead, Kara, and click into that assignment. So we're looking at revision aid from the student vantage point, and Kara's going to go into that assignment. And notice revision aid is up at the top right. So a student, if they wanted to turn that on, they would go ahead and click revision aid. And then you notice that revision aid is run, and you see at first glance, you see these stars, but then when Kara, expands that or hovers over and clicks on, you can see a little bit more information. So even it gives you information about the length, your topic sentence, your organization, and the colors really help the students understand with those stars, are my paragraphs good, on track? Sometimes you might see those stars in a more of a yellow color, which is like, slow down, really take a look at some of this feedback, or red would indicate, some adjustments really do need to be made. So again, on the student side, they only see the stars and the input. there around those details. They can choose to then close it, go back to their writing, maybe make some revisions, and then they can always run it again if they wanted to. On the teacher end, which we don't see here, but on the teacher end, the teacher view would be very similar to what you saw with the student. So when the teacher goes into grade, assess the paper, they could turn Revisionate on, they would see those same comments, those same stars, but there also is a score that is pulled in on the teacher side as well. That score of Revisionate, which Kara's going to show you maybe.
Yeah, well, I don't have a score there, but I do have, you can actually see where, well, and those are, sorry. Yeah, hang on, let me get to an active assignment.
And it's not something that factors into your final grade, like if you export your grades or if they sync, to an LMS, but it is just a nice glance for you to say, see, Revisionate's not turned on for this assignment, but if it was, it would show up there and you would see the score also only on the teacher side. A student would not see a score. Just want to, remind you, they would just see the details and the stars.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I didn't have one turned on for the assignment, but just so you know where to look, you'll see it right here. Okay, let me go back to the deck. And we have any other questions?
Yeah, so since we had to talk through a lot of different pieces to Writable today, we chose to stay in the slide deck, which is not usually our approach, but we wanted, to let you know that all of those things existed, set you up with the directions to all of those areas if you'd like to try them out if you haven't yet. And then if there was anything that you have questions on, that's what we're here for. I know we're about out of time, but you can certainly follow up with an email if there's something that you didn't get to see today or need more information on, and we can certainly help with that.
Mm-hmm. So I just took us back to the slide about where to find the support documents. Of course, the links are in the bottom of each of the slides. You have the live chat. Then if you expanded our support documents, it would look like it does on the right. You can send an email to support@writable.com so the team can actually go back through email on you. We have a number of resources on writable.com/academy, which is where this video will be posted. We also will have some other resources on there, like the podcast, our blog posts, a number of items that are of interest to you. A number of places where you can see our social networking sites is also included on the deck. And then we have our hello@Writable email, and then of course Becky's email and my email are both on here, and we are available to help you. Okay, well, with that said, we hope you all have a great time with some writing, and share your stories with us, and please reach out to us as you have questions or comments.